Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. You are live and direct once again with your Akazaki Yahoo. And as always, I'm giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahweh, Bashem, Hamashiach, Wamalak, Yahweh Shai, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four quarters of the earth. I say shalom, wa baruchim, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day when the Most High brings us back together and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High power, under one covenant, back in our own land with a heart of flesh and no more a heart of stone, with our enemies, our adversaries, and all those who hate us under our feet. All praises to the Almighty Yah. Hallelujah. All praises again. All right, we are back for another video review. I think we're going to pick up scripture read next week. So we're going to review this video from our good brothers over at Black Journals. The title of this video is These Great Men in the Bible Were So-Called Black. Proof is inside. So they're going to prove that these men, these great men in the text were black men. Something we've been telling y'all forever. So shout out to Black Journals coming along. They're growing. They're getting more knowledgeable. And they dealing with what needs to be dealt with. All praises. Shabbat shalom, Makoti. Let's check it out.
Did you know there are no white people in the Bible? Not Adam, nor Abraham, Moses, David, or even Jesus. Throughout the Bible, we come across great men whose lives and actions have shaped history and faith. What often goes unnoticed, however, is how a lot of these inspirational figures were actually black. Moses, Samson, David, Solomon, Elijah, and even Adam are among the many powerful figures in the Bible who show their roots through their background, their actions, and even the people they associate with. Unfortunately, many of these great figures have been severely whitewashed through time. The truth is, our biblical history has always stemmed from people of color, with the greatest ancestors of mankind coming from the lands of Africa. This means that Anglo-European interpretations of biblical characters have often been false and exist primarily in art because for a long time, white conquerors had the power to rewrite history. Fortunately, nowadays, more and more scholars are acknowledging the glimmering truth. Now, in a few moments, we'll introduce some of these notable black figures and reveal how these honorable men demonstrated leadership, faith, and strength in overcoming the greatest challenges, many of which are supported by archaeological evidence. So join us through this video as we take a closer look at these influential black men in the Bible and the impact they left behind. Kindly give us a like to show your support, subscribe for more insightful content, and let's begin. Number 1, Adam. Adam is a man of immense significance. His greatness lies in his unique role as the very first human sculpted by the hands of God. Through him, humanity and the connection with the divine all began. God created Adam from dust and breathed life into him, giving him a soul. He was placed in the Garden of Eden, a beautiful paradise filled with trees, flowers, and animals. In this perfect environment, Adam had everything he needed, but God saw that he was lonely. To address this, God created Eve, a companion for Adam from one of his ribs. Together, they were tasked with caring for the garden and living in harmony with all of creation. Now, many people wonder what skin color Adam might have had. In actuality, he was most likely black, and there are a few reasons that prove this. First, Adam's story takes place in Mesopotamia, which includes parts of modern-day Iraq. This region is close to Africa and the Middle East, where people have a variety of skin tones. Since Adam is seen as the ancestor of all humans, it makes much more sense that he could have had features similar to those of early people in that area, which is darker skin. Another point to consider is the name Adam. In Hebrew, Adam relates to the word for earth or red clay. This could refer to the dark, rich soil found in many parts of Africa. And since Adam and Eve are believed to be the ancestors of all humans, it's reasonable to conclude that they had darker skin, similar to the majority of people living in Africa in ancient times. This idea is supported by findings from ancient human remains, which suggest that darker skin was more common in early human populations. The genetic changes that led to lighter skin colors occurred later, likely as humans adapted to different environments. This means that while we see a wide range of skin tones today, many of these variations are relatively recent in human history. Number 2, Abraham. Abraham is seen as the father of all Jewish people because it all began with his lineage. But did you know that before there were white Jews, there were the original black Jews? The truth is, Abraham and his descendants were Semitic Hebrew Negroes. That includes Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. Abraham was a descendant of another one of Noah's sons, Shem. Shem's Y DNA is linked to a group called DE, which is often associated with Afro-Asiatic peoples, a group that includes both Africans and people from the Middle East. Since Shem's descendants include people of brown or dark skin, it's reasonable to say that Abraham, being part of this lineage, was a person of color. And any idea suggesting that Abraham was white or part European is not backed by evidence. His family also migrated through various regions, including Canaan and Egypt. This means that they lived among diverse populations which were primarily populated by people of African descent. Originally named Abram, Abraham is known for his incredible faith in one true God, setting him apart in a time of many idols. When God called him to leave his homeland for Canaan, now modern-day Israel and Palestine, God promised that Abraham would become the father of a great nation despite his old age and lack of children. Eventually, God blessed him and his wife Sarah with a son, Isaac, fulfilling the promise to make Abraham the father of many nations. One of the most famous stories about Abraham is when God asked him to sacrifice his beloved son. This request seemed shocking, but Abraham trusted God completely. Just as he was about to carry out the act, an angel stopped him and provided a ram to sacrifice instead. From that event, Abraham was able to prove his faith and obedience, showing that he was willing to put his trust in God above all else. Many people know about this story, but did you know that Abraham, during his time, was also thrown into a fiery furnace? In the book of Jasher, this development unfolds from a confrontation between Abraham and Nimrod, the powerful king of Babylon. Nimrod, who was known for his idolatrous beliefs, demanded that everyone worship fire. Abraham, firmly believing in the one true God, strongly opposed this notion. After a heavy debate between the two, Nimrod declared that Abraham would be punished for his defiance by being thrown into a furnace. However, when Abraham was cast into the flames, something miraculous happened. He emerged from the flames unscathed. This act of divine intervention not only showed Abraham's immense faith, but also served as confirmation of God's power. Number 3, Moses. Moses was an Egyptian Israelite who spent most of his life in Egypt. This man did many great things that changed history. One of his most monumental acts was leading the Israelites out of the oppressive chains of slavery in Egypt, a daring escape that reverberates through history. Through faith and divine guidance, Moses was able to part the Red Sea, allowing the Israelites to escape from Pharaoh's army. On Mount Sinai, Moses received the 10 Commandments from God, and for 40 years he guided them through the wilderness, helping them become a strong community and teaching them about their faith. Truly a great leader. Moses established laws and practices that continue to shape Jewish culture today. Now, many historians argue that Moses was actually a black man. As a Hebrew, Moses was part of a lineage that descended from Shem, which we already know from Abraham's case was Afro-Asiatic. Acts 7:23 also tells us that Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace and often passed as the grandson of Pharaoh Seti I. Egypt at the time was a part of Africa, with its ancient civilization reflecting their black African roots. So if Pharaoh Seti I had dark skin, and Moses was often regarded as his grandson, then it makes a lot of sense for Moses to have had dark skin as well. The story of Moses leading the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt, is a noble keystone in the Bible, mentioned over 120 times in the Old Testament. It is a remarkable moment that transcends mere storytelling, as it is a piece of history with accuracy backed by archaeological evidence. Archaeological findings at Avaris reveal a Semitic community consistent with biblical accounts. Additional evidence, like the Seti War relief, also suggests the Israelites' escape route, and the Merneptah Stele is the earliest non-biblical reference to Israel. Collectively, these findings lend strong support to the historical roots of the Exodus and Moses' leadership, indicating that the Israelites were indeed enslaved in Egypt and left for Canaan around that time. Number 4, Joshua. As a member of the tribe of Ephraim, Joshua was part of the Black Hebrews. He is a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and belonged to the group of people who inhabited the ancient Near East. Joshua's story is primarily told in the book of Joshua, where he transforms from a loyal assistant to a fearless commander, tasked with guiding his people into the promised land of Canaan. Originally named Hoshea, he was appointed by Moses as his assistant and was one of the 12 spies sent to scout the land of Canaan. Unlike the others, he returned with a positive report, encouraging the Israelites to trust in God's promise. After Moses' death, God commanded Joshua to lead the people into Canaan. One of his most notable achievements was the miraculous crossing of the Jordan River, where the waters parted, allowing the Israelites to enter the promised land. His leadership shone brightly during the famous Battle of Jericho, where he commanded the Israelites to march around the fortified city for 7 days. On the 7th day, after a final shout, the walls came crashing down, marking a pivotal victory. Interestingly, archaeological discoveries provide compelling evidence that aligns with the biblical account of his efforts. Excavations at Tel es-Sultan, identified as Old Testament Jericho, revealed the remains of 2 massive walls. These walls, consisting of a stone revetment and a mud brick wall, matched the description of the collapsed defenses in the book of Joshua. The fallen mud bricks appear to have formed a ramp, just as the Bible describes, allowing the Israelites to go up into the city. Number 5, Samson. Samson is a well-known character from the Bible, famous for his incredible strength and dramatic story. He was from the Black region of Canaan and was a descendant of Jacob of Israel through his son Dan. Samson was chosen by God to deliver the Israelites from the oppression of the Philistines. Throughout his life, Samson engaged in battles against the Philistines, often acting as a one-man army. He famously tore apart a lion with his bare hands and later used the jawbone of that same lion to slay 1,000 Philistine warriors. Each of these acts not only demonstrated his physical might, but also served as a testament to God's power working through him. However, Samson's journey was fraught with personal struggles. His relationships often led him astray, specifically his love for Delilah, who ultimately betrayed him by revealing the secret of his strength. After she cut his hair while he slept, Samson was captured, blinded, and humiliated by the Philistines. Yet, in his final moments, Samson's faith was restored. As he stood between the pillars of a Philistine temple, he prayed to God for strength one last time. With a mighty push, he brought the temple crashing down, defeating his enemies and sacrificing himself in the process. In 2012, a small stone seal was found in the excavations of Tel Bet Shemesh, which could be the first archaeological evidence of the biblical Samson. The seal depicts a human figure next to a large animal, which scholars suggest recalls Samson's battle with a lion as told in the book of Judges. The seal dates back to the 11th century BCE, a time associated with the biblical judges, including Samson. Number 6, David. David rose into the spotlight after defeating Goliath, a giant Philistine warrior. Armed only with a sling and a few stones, David's faith in God empowered him to face and conquer Goliath, despite overwhelming odds. This victory not only made him a national hero, but also set him on the path to becoming king. David ruled as the second king of Israel around 1000 BCE. As king, David unified the tribes of Israel and established Jerusalem as the capital. He expanded the kingdom's territory and brought peace after years of conflict. David is also known for his musical talent and is credited with composing many of the Psalms, which express a wide range of emotions and spiritual reflections. These writings have influenced countless individuals and remain central to religious practices today. Now, dear viewer, understanding the historical context of David's time is very important. Many scholars, including Jewish writers like Arthur Koestler and Rabbi Shlomo Sand, argue that the identities of modern Jews have been shaped by conversions and migrations. This raises the question, if David was not of European descent, what might his appearance have been? David was born in Bethlehem, a region in ancient Judea, and dwelled among the Black Semites. His lineage traces back to Abraham, who, as discussed earlier, is a Black Hebrew and lived in a diverse environment, also influenced by neighboring populations of African descent. While David has often been depicted as a white man in various artworks, this portrayal does not align with historical and geographical realities. Ancient Israel was located in the Near East, a region inhabited by people of North African and Middle Eastern descent. Given this context, it's more likely that David had a darker complexion. The Bible describes him as ruddy, which some scholars interpret as having a reddish-brown skin tone. The Tel Dan inscription, discovered in 1993 at Tel Dan in northern Israel by archaeologist Avram Biran, provides strong evidence for the existence of King David. This broken inscription mentions an Aramean king who claims to have defeated both the king of Israel and the king of the house of David. The phrase House of David is significant because it shows that David was recognized as a real historical figure, not just a legend. The inscription, written in Aramaic, refers to a military victory over forces from Israel and Judah, indicating that David's kingdom was important enough to be noted by enemies. Scholars generally believe it relates to a campaign by Hazael of Damascus against the Israelite king Jehoram and the Judahite king Ahaziah. Number 7, Solomon. Solomon is the son of David and the next king of Israel. Now, Solomon was not David's oldest son, but he was chosen by David with the support of the prophet Nathan and his mother Bathsheba to succeed him. Before his death, David gave Solomon a mandate to obey God's laws and to walk in his ways. When Solomon ascended to the throne, he had to consolidate his power, which involved executing or removing rivals, including his half-brother Adonijah, who had attempted to usurp the throne. One of the defining stories about Solomon's reign is his request for wisdom. According to the Bible, God appeared to Solomon in a dream and offered him anything he desired. Solomon famously asked for wisdom to govern his people well. God granted him this request, making him the wisest man of his time, and also blessed him with wealth and honor. One of the best-known demonstrations of Solomon's wisdom is the story of the two women who came before him, each claiming to be the mother of a single baby. Solomon proposed to divide the baby in two and give each woman half, knowing that the true mother would rather give up her child than see it harmed. The real mother immediately gave up her claim, revealing her identity. Solomon's immense wisdom and wealth had spread far and wide, which had intrigued the Queen of Sheba. She decided to pay him a visit to see if such claims were true. Upon her arrival in Jerusalem, the Queen engages Solomon in conversation, testing him with difficult questions and riddles to gauge his wisdom. Solomon, known for his remarkable intelligence, answers all her queries with ease. Many Bible readers do not know that Solomon was a black man. Songs of Solomon 5:1 reads, "Dark am I, yet lovely, daughters of Jerusalem, dark like the tents of Kedar, like the tent curtains of Solomon." The tents that this verse refers to were made out of black goat skin. It's a confirmation that Solomon was referring to his skin as being black. Solomon married Pharaoh's daughter, as mentioned in 1 Kings 3:1, 7:8, and 9:16. His wife was also black, given that Egypt had two Ethiopian pharaohs just before and during Solomon's reign. Thus, Solomon married an Ethiopian woman, which increased the presence of black blood in the royal line. In 2012, archaeologists unearthed a small inscription near the presumed location of Solomon's temple. Originally thought to be Canaanite, Daniel Vainstub of Ben-Gurion University now argues that it is written in Sabaean, the language of ancient Sheba. Dating back to the time of King Solomon, the inscription could provide evidence of trade links between Judah and South Arabia, particularly in aromatic resins like laudanum used in religious practices. This discovery, just 300 yards from Solomon's temple, strengthens the possibility of the biblical account of Solomon's relationship with the Queen of Sheba. Number 8, Elijah. One of the most significant prophets in the Bible, Elijah is believed to have had African heritage, specifically tied to the Canaanites. His lineage is linked to Canaan, a son of Ham, which suggests that Elijah was also black. According to 1 Kings 17:1, he is described as Elijah the Tishbite of Tishbite in Gilead, indicating his origin from a region inhabited by Amorites, who were part of the Canaanite population. As Gilead was conquered by the Israelites and was home to many Canaanites, Elijah's black identity reflects.
All right, let's take a quick pause here because this is ironic. I've been watching black journals for a while, and black journals have been kind of inching towards the understanding of knowledge. And it's ironic that they are talking about Elijah, who is an Israelite, as if he is a foreigner. Elijah is not an Israelite. Elijah is not dark in color because of Canaanites. He's dark in color because he's an Israelite. He comes from Israel. He was a prophet in Israel. I don't know why that's difficult to understand. But Elijah was an Israelite. He was not a Canaanite. There was no discussion of his lineage, of his father or his mother. But he was an Israelite because he was a prophet, and the Most High used the Israelites as prophets. So they'll learn these things as they continue to study. But I wanted to bring that point home, so let's continue.
This historical context. Elijah delivered God's messages to the people of Israel, boldly challenging the worship of false gods. One of his most famous confrontations occurred on Mount Carmel, where he faced the prophets of Baal and called down fire from heaven to consume his sacrifice, leading the people to turn back to Yahweh. Elijah performed numerous miracles, including raising a widow's son from the dead and providing an endless supply of flour and oil during a famine, showcasing his divine connection. Throughout his life, he experienced God's protection during times of drought and persecution. Ultimately, Elijah is one of only 2 people in the Bible who was taken up to heaven without experiencing death. Excavations at Tel Rehov, led by Amihai Mazar, have uncovered many important finds over 16 years, including an inked pottery shard called an ostracon. Dated to the mid-9th century BCE, it features an inscription that translates to Elijah. Given the rarity of the name Elijah in ancient Israel, this find strongly suggests that the inscription refers to the famous prophet. Another inscription mentioning Nimshi was discovered nearby. This is relevant since Elijah is known for anointing Jehu, the grandson of Nimshi, as king. Number 9, Daniel. Daniel was born into a noble family in Jerusalem around the 6th century BCE. When the Babylonian Empire conquered Jerusalem, King Nebuchadnezzar II ordered the capture of the city's elite, including Daniel and his 3 friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The young men were taken to Babylon to be trained in the king's court, where they were given new names. Daniel was given the name Belteshazzar, Hananiah was renamed Shadrach, Mishael became Meshach, and Azariah was changed to Abednego. Daniel's ability to interpret dreams quickly gained him favor with King Nebuchadnezzar. The king had troubling dreams that none of his wise men could interpret. When summoned, Daniel prayed for wisdom and successfully revealed both the dream and its meaning. The dream foretold the rise and fall of empires, emphasizing God's sovereignty over history. As a reward, Daniel was promoted to a high position in the Babylonian government. Daniel's friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, faced a critical test of faith when Nebuchadnezzar ordered everyone to worship a golden statue. As a punishment for their defiance, they were thrown into a fiery furnace. However, what happened next was quite astonishing. When the king looked into the furnace, he saw not 3, but 4 figures walking unharmed in the fire. The 4th figure is often interpreted as a divine presence that symbolizes God's protection. Through their faith, these men survived the flames unharmed. Daniel himself faced a similar test when a new king, Darius, issued a decree forbidding prayer to anyone except him. Daniel continued to pray to God 3 times a day, leading to his arrest and punishment by being thrown into a den of lions. However, God sent an angel to shut the lions' mouths, and Daniel emerged unscathed the next morning. The tales of Daniel and his companions are truly remarkable, especially because they are not mere myths, but are grounded in actual historical events. King Nebuchadnezzar was a real ruler of Babylon, known for his military conquests and the impressive structures he built, including the Hanging Gardens, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Archaeological findings and ancient texts, such as the Babylonian Chronicles, confirm the existence of Nebuchadnezzar and his reign. These documents provide details about the king's accomplishments and the Babylonian Empire, and reinforce that the events in Daniel's life were indeed some of the greatest moments in history. Daniel is often thought to be of African descent for a few reasons. He was taken to Babylon during the exile from Judah. The people of Judah were likely to have had darker skin due to their location in ancient Canaan. As part of the Semitic peoples, ancient Israelites, including those from Judah, typically shared physical traits including darker skin tones. In addition, the Babylonian Empire included people from many different backgrounds, including those from Africa, especially places like Nubia and Egypt. Number 10, Jesus. For too many centuries, Christianity has held tightly to the Euro Jesus, the white-skinned, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus. But the assumption that Jesus was white is not supported by geographical or historical evidence. Instead, it's more plausible, both scientifically and culturally, to believe that Jesus was a person of color. The Bible provides some clues about Jesus' physical traits. For example, the book of Daniel describes a figure with hair like pure wool, suggesting curly or tightly coiled hair. Additionally, the book of Revelation mentions that his feet were like burnished bronze, which points to a dark brown skin tone. These descriptions imply that Jesus likely had darker skin and tightly coiled hair. Additionally, during the Exodus, the Israelites left Egypt, which at the time was a part of Africa. This history, often overlooked in other narratives, also suggests that Mary and Joseph had darker skin as well. Jesus' greatness needs no explanation. Born around 4 BCE in Bethlehem and raised in Nazareth, his life is recorded in the New Testament, showcasing his greatness in many ways. Jesus taught about love, kindness, forgiveness, and having a personal connection with God. He performed many miracles, showing his divine power and care for people. He healed the sick, gave sight to the blind, fed thousands with just a few loaves of bread and fish, and even raised people from the dead. These actions not only eased people's suffering, but also strengthened their faith. As a teacher, Jesus gathered followers, called disciples, and told stories to explain deep spiritual ideas in simple ways. Through his faith, he challenged the religious and political leaders of his time, which eventually led to his arrest and crucifixion. By dying on the cross, he sacrificed himself for the sins of mankind, a lasting proof of his selflessness and love, offering hope and redemption to humanity. Jesus' life and message encourage us to create a world filled with love and moral integrity. Multiple archaeological pieces of evidence have pointed to the existence of Jesus Christ. One such example is from 1990. when a construction team stumbled upon a first-century tomb that contained ossuaries or bone boxes. One of these ossuaries was inscribed with the name Joseph, son of Caiaphas, which scholars link to Caiaphas, the high priest, who oversaw Jesus' trial according to the Gospels. This connection is important because it shows that the story of Jesus is tied to real people and events. Such discoveries are compelling proof that Jesus was a real person, a real great man, who lived in a specific time and interacted with other notable historical figures. These great men in the Bible are only among the many others who proudly represent Black heritage. These are the great heroes who have been whitewashed in mainstream narratives. Truly, their full identities deserve recognition and celebration. As we uncover these truths and acknowledge the distortion, we honor the greatness of our ancestors and the profound impact they've had on our lives and beliefs. If you felt inspired by this,
Kind. Yes, indeed. It's so very important for us to understand these things and to hold tight to the truth. You know, the truth is the opposite of the lie. There can only be one truth. And the truth is that the Israelites, we're alive and well right here today. We are scattered to the four quarters of the earth, and the Most High have promised that He would gather us all again. He's going to gather us again, bring us back to our home, and He's going to celebrate us. That's what His word says, and that's what we look forward to. That's what we await. In the coming of the return of our Mashiach, the Messiah. All praises to the Most High. Yeah, that whitewashing, that hijacking did happen, but it was only for a time. Here we are now in a day where the Most High is sending us knowledge in volumes, in abundance, and we're understanding these things. We're drawing these lines. We're putting the pictures together, and the puzzle pieces are fitting, and they look magnificent. We know. Right, kind. I was going to point that out, but you know what? I was going to point that out. Kind. And that's another thing. Hamashiach, the Messiah, died for Israel. He didn't die for the mankind. That's the opposite of what he taught. He said, Israel, his people. He shall save his people from their sin. So, praises to the Abba. But it was good. It's good to see the brothers over there, Black Journals, progressing. Because a year ago, they weren't even this close. You know, so they progressing. You know, your arc had to progress as well. When I first came into the truth, shoot, I didn't know what I was learning. All I knew I was learning new stuff. So, you know, I had to get it together. And I had to put it into perspective. And as the perspective grew, the knowledge grew. As the knowledge grew, the understanding grew. As the understanding grew, the wisdom grew. All praises to the Most High for knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. All right, we'll go ahead and bow out to this one. We do this for a specific purpose. Why do we do it? Number one, we want to see our people saved and set free. Romans chapter 10 and verse 1, brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to Abba for Israel is that they might be saved. We want to see our people saved. We want to see our people set free. We want to see our people restored to the promises that the Most High have promised us. How are we going to do it? First of all, we're going to keep the faith and the belief in Hamashiach, the Messiah. Secondly, Ecclesiastes chapter number 12 and verse 13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter, fear the Most High and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. It is so very important to understand that in the conclusion of the whole matter, we have to fear the Most High and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. At the end of the day, when it is all said and done, all the dust is settled and all the smoke is cleared, we will be judged on whether we have feared the Most High and kept his commandments. Why? For this is the whole duty of man. I am your Akazaki Yahoo, giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahweh, Bashem, Mashiach, Mamalak, Yahweh Shai, and to the 12 tribes of Israel, who were scattered to the four quarters of the earth. I say Shalom, Wa, Baruchim, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day when the Most High brings us back together, and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High Power, under one covenant, back in our own land with a heart of flesh and no more a heart of stone, with our enemies, our adversaries, and all those who hate us under our feet. Until that day come, Shabbat Shalom, Yisrael. Kwam Yasha Allah, Barak Hashem, Yahoo!